What up, YouTube? It's your boy, Comandante 56, known to most at a game with as simply Dante. Wanted to bring you guys round 2 of the Anime Craves Uncharted Commentators Tournament Series. My question for this week comes from none other than himself, the Anime Crave, and it is, if I could be any superhero, what would be my powers, what would be my backstory, and who would be my villains? So Anime Crave, thank you so much for the question. Let me tell you, it is a lot harder to answer than I thought it would be. You know, all of us as boys grew up, debating at lunchtime who our favorite superheroes were and why. And if my superhero had to face your superhero, who would win? And we would always have the question as to which superpowers we'd like to have. I think in the traditional sense, if I had to pick some of the more obvious superpowers that have been out there, I would have to just go with human flight, the ability to fly. And it sounds so cliche, but it is so true for me. I think flight would be one of the most liberating, freeing experiences a human being would be able to have if it were a reality. And the funny thing is, now in the 21st century, we have technology that mimics that. Not 100%, but you look at things like the wingsuit and Jetpack Man. Those are the things that bring us the closest to human flight, and I would love to be able to try those things. If you don't know what they are, what I'm talking about, I'll include a link down below that you guys can check out. It's pretty awesome to see how far humankind has come to the ability to have independent human flight. I'm not talking about in an airplane or anything like that. I'm talking about just you in a regular suit. And it's one of the coolest things that we could probably do as human beings. So I think that would be my traditional answer, would just be the ability to fly. But I'm going to take it into another direction and really answer the entire question in depth and give my honest answer for who I would be if I had the choice of superhero, what would be my powers, who would be my villains, and then I'll give you an idea of how I think the backstory would go. First off, I want those who don't know who I am to have a little bit of a background and know that I'm a surgical trauma nurse who has recently moved into the Department of Intensive Care here at a level 1 trauma center in a metro setting. So I see the most insane accidents that humankind can go through. I've seen all sorts of human suffering. I've seen all sorts of miracles of healing and all sorts of crazy things as far as working in a hospital and dealing with very sick patients. So if you haven't followed me on my commentary series before, that's just a little snippet of who I am outside of gaming, just so you guys can get an idea of why I'm answering the question in the way that I'm about to. If you've ever seen the movie The Green Mile, which, by the way, if you haven't, I highly recommend. I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Great story, well written, well performed, great actors. There is a character in that movie played by Michael Clark Duncan, who was an actor who unfortunately passed away last September, who I thought was a phenomenal actor in any movie he did. And his character in that movie was a convicted convict who was wrongfully found guilty of a crime he didn't do. But his power in that movie was the ability to take away sickness from others. He was able to, in a sense, cure others of their disease. I think in the movie he took away someone's cancer, and I think he cured someone's infertility. He might have done some other things, but it's been a while since I've watched the movie, so I don't know all the details. But that would be my choice of superpowers. And it's obviously highly influenced by what I do as a professional adult, but I think that would be the most awesome type of superhero. Someone who can take away someone's chronic illness, whether it be chronic pain, whether it be diabetes, whether it be something like multiple sclerosis or Lou Gehrig's disease, or any of these other terrible, terrible diseases out there that cause so much suffering, not only for the patient, but their families and loved ones. My ability to be able to take away that out of someone's body. And in the movie, he was able to absorb it. So he would take it out of their body and absorb it, and it would have no effect on him. And I think that's exactly how I would want to be as a superhero. As far as the backstory to that, I'll just go with the traditional Disney answer. I think it's pretty obvious. I could either have, God or whatever higher power you believe in come down and bestow these powers upon me and say, you have this responsibility to help mankind. I could go with, the Marvel comic book way of getting these powers and be in some sort of radioactive accident, or the consequences me being able to, have this gift. Or what I could probably see is, the Lifetime version, right? The Lifetime network would have some sort of way of dealing with this, and me going through some sort of terminal illness, being treated for it with some new therapy, and the side effect from this therapy and me surviving it would be my ability to cure others. There's a lot of different ways you could kind of play on the background story to how I got these powers. But in movies, it usually doesn't take up a whole lot of the script. It's usually about the first 10-15 minutes or so on how someone got the powers, and the rest of the movie is explaining on how they use it and who their villains are. So talking about my villains, I think it's pretty clear to me who they would be. It would be the pharmaceutical company or the healthcare industry. The guys who would stand to lose billions and billions of dollars based on my gifts, right? So I'd be able to cure diabetes, for example. I mean, that in itself is a billion-dollar industry every year on just insulin sales alone. And I think they would, they have all this money and resources, and right now in real life, I mean, they're actually accused of shutting down some other low-key people who do good for others, and so I could use them as my villains to kind of have them use all these billions of dollars of profits to try and assassinate me or kill me. And I could somehow see a twist in the end of the biggest CEO of a pharmaceutical company being the one whose wife or loved one was suffering from a terminal illness and was gonna die, and they needed me to go in there and absorb that from them and cure them, and that's how everything gets made better in the end, and happily ever after. So that would be the answer to the question. I would be a person who can alleviate suffering and cure others of their illness, and that's the kind of superhero I'd want to be. So I hope you guys like my answer. Hopefully you guys voted up so I can be here for week 3. If you haven't already, by the way, please subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/milkweedkiller. And I will see you guys later. Adios.